Hi everybody, it's Abby with Creative at Home and here to paint with you today. Um, we are going to paint this. This is one of my favorite paintings that I have. We're going to paint the lovely Lookout painting. It's great for Valentine's Day. It's a great, just cool painting. I love the silhouette with the car and that cool tree that's in a heart. So um, we'll go ahead and get started on this. I will go over supplies and things like that with your kit, and we'll do that in just a minute. I'll switch over my screen. All right, thanks. Enjoy. All right, here we go on this one. Lovely Lookout. This is one of my favorites. I've been wanting to paint this for a long time, so I'm excited to get to paint it with you today. So we'll go ahead and get started on it. I'll go over all the supplies that we have. Paint colors here that we're going to use. Again, acrylic paint. I have black, brown, red, green, blue, and white. So those are our paint colors. And I just use a piece of palette paper. You can use a paper plate or an actual palette to mix your colors. Brushes that I have for this is I have a 3/4 inch wash brush or a sponge brush or something to do your background with. And I have a 1/2 inch flat brush here that we're going to use. And then a detail brush, a number 3 or smaller brush works great. So I'll probably go between a 3 and probably look for a 2 here. Should have had those out before I got started. No, that's straight. I'll go ahead and just get a smaller one in just in case I need it. So the other cool thing about this painting is that you get a template to help you. So this is going to go onto our canvas here, and in order to do that, I am going to actually cut just a section of this off so that it looks a little bit more, so that it tapes together very, very well. So I'm just going to cut this off. In order for us to print them out easily, we print it on 2 pages, and then this just gets taped together here. Okay. So we're going to transfer this on using, I'm going to tape this together with a little Scotch tape. And I'm not going to tape it on a place that I need to trace, so I don't get stuck tracing over the tape, because it just makes it a little funny. Alright, so I have it taped together. I'm actually going to move my paint out of the way here while I trace. So with graphite paper, this piece is pretty big, so let's get a smaller piece. So you have smaller pieces in your kit. I was just trying to use that up, but I don't think it's going to work. Okay, so I have my graphite paper here. And there is a shiny side and a flatter side. Okay, so we are going to want to put this graphite paper in between the template and our canvas, okay, with the shiny side towards the canvas. All right, so I'm going to just set these 2 pieces, pick up my template here, and I have my canvas board. It's just a white 11 by 14 canvas board, horizontal orientation. And I'm going to put that stuff down and get my template here. And the best way to do this is to kind of feel the edge here. I'm going to run it up against the bottom edge, and then there we go. Okay, so I just kind of score the edge so I know that it's staying in the right spot here. Alright, so all I'm going to do then is I use a stylus, but you can also use, actually today I think I'm going to use just like a chopstick. You can use the back of a brush. I wouldn't use a pencil or a pen. That's something that's going to write, but you just want to be able to apply good steady pressure. Okay, so I use one hand to hold it in the space, and I'm just going to trace this black and white, the black lines. I'm just going to go through and trace the black lines. And so I'm going to hold it steady and show you what happens. So there is my piece. Okay, so I just go strategically, like I'll go straight down. So I don't miss stuff. And just keep going. And then this will help guide us with our colors and color choices. Okay. Okay. So that tree is delicate, so we're going to want to make sure we can get that. This heart-shaped tree. Okay, so I'm going to just double check and make sure I get that tree. Yep, got everything there. And so now all I have left is the car. Okay. Alright, now we have a little guy. And the girl. Okay, so I believe that I have everything traced. So I'm gonna, moment of truth, pull this off, double check it, make sure everything looks pretty good before I pull it completely away. So I'm pretty happy with that. And we'll go ahead and pull the template and the graphite paper away. So your graphite paper can most definitely be reused over and over and over and over again, so don't throw that away. And the template can be saved I teach paintings on a regular basis, so I like to save these so that I can use them again and all that, but you don't have to there. So, okay, so I'm going to bring my paints back up and we can go ahead and get started. Okay, so there are a few other tools that you're going to want to have on hand for this painting. So if you don't have these things, just pause me and go grab them. But I actually keep a toothbrush in my paintbrush supplies because we can use it. We're going to use that for this. You know, a slightly used one or it doesn't matter what kind of toothbrush. It doesn't have to be brand new, but you just want to have some kind of toothbrush. And then we're going to actually trace some of the items that we used with this permanent marker here. This is a fine tip, so some of this work is fairly detailed, so if you want to get kind of a fine tip marker, you'll have that as well. So, alright, as far as supplies, that's pretty much where we are. Okay, so the first step that we're going to do once we've finished our template tracing is I'm going to grab that fine tip black marker and I'm going to outline the pattern lines of the tree trunk, the car, and the couple. Okay, so I'm just going to trace over these lines so that they're more visible. Like that. Okay. Let's go through here. Alright, got the car and get the windows. Oops, doesn't like this slippery. I reuse my canvases, so sometimes there we go. Alright. Okay, and we are going to trace the trunk but not the tree. So let's see if I got another one somewhere. This one's not cooperating. There we go. Okay. Alright. And then there's this little cross line that we're going to trace. Okay. So we have those details done, and just make those a little bit more visible as we go into that. So, okay. So we're going to go ahead and start painting, which is what we're here to do. Alright, we're going to start with our white paint and our large brush. We're going to start by painting this moon. and then we're going to work out from there. So I'm going to just grab some of this white and start painting this. Okay. There we go. I need to get it kind of thick. And I'll overlap it a little bit, those lines, because we're going to start blending in that blue, okay? So I'm just going to grab, just to start, I'm going to grab a tiny bit of blue and start blending that in. Okay, and then we're going to paint. The goal here is to paint this whole top section around some of these, around the tree, but we're actually going to go over the trunk and the cars and all of that stuff. So just watch kind of what happens. Okay, and then we'll keep, like, I'm going to go back in that moon in the center and kind of work on blending that out again. But just keep working more blue into this, and we're going to go around in a circular motion. We're going to go right up to this cliff. So we're going to go down to this line here with the blue paint, and then we are going to go around the cliff, painting over the car and the tree trunk, but not over the heart tree. Okay, so what that means is I'm gonna kind of go around this cliff using my brush in a sideways manner, and that's why we traced these cars and the tree, so that we could see them as we start getting closer. So, and I just keep going in that circular motion as we go out here, getting that right up to the edge there. Okay. Just keep going out with the blue. And then, so I'm going to work on just painting, and then I'm going to work on just getting up against all these details here, and then we'll go back through and start blending some of that blue. So, alright. I'm actually going to use a smaller brush to get into this section here. So, there we go. That makes it much easier. Imagine that. I was always an outliner when I colored too, so I guess that makes sense for me. Okay, so let's get some paint here. Just keep going. And I'm just gonna pull some more white in here and keep blending this, because as it dries it gets a little harder. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to keep painting, and again I'm going to go over the car and the couple and the tree trunk, but I'm going to go around this heart tree. So I'm going to do the same thing and switch over to that thinner brush here. Once I get as close as I can, to live dangerously there. And it's not the end of the world if you make a mistake. You just let it dry and paint over it. So the more you finagle something with acrylic paint, while it's wet, it's just going to keep blending. But if you let it dry and go back to it, it will cover. So sometimes if you're having trouble with a problem spot, just take a breather, let it dry, and come back to it. And you can start over. Okay. Right. Alright. We're going to go okay. Okay. Alright. So we're all the way around that. And now I'm just going to keep getting that good coverage that I want to have here, now that I'm not like super afraid. Okay. Alright, so I think I'm going to turn this off because I think it makes it a little bit easier for you guys to see since there's not a glare. There we go. Okay, so now I'm just going to kind of keep painting in and evening all this up. Make sure I have that background covered. can work on blending some more of this white. So I'm gonna put some blue in here. Just want to make sure that I like the way this is blending out. So I'm going to put some fresh wet paint, because remember I said dry paint you paint over things, wet you can blend. So we want to blend here. Okay. All right. Okay. So I think I am all set on this background section. Okay, so we're gonna not rinse this brush out, and I'm gonna use the same brush where I am going to mix in a little bit more white and blue. Okay, and then I'm gonna just kind of add some more details, and I'm also going to add a little bit of black because I want kind of a darker blue, and I'm actually gonna, so I added, I know I went through that fast, I added some, so I lightened it up first, so I'm looking for kind of a grayish blue here. Okay, so, and then I'm going to add a little bit more black and blue, and I'm going to add some highlights over here and get some of that out of there. Just kind of add some highlights here. To darken it up a little. And on the side by the tree, and then the sides by this part here. Okay, so we're going to add some kind of darker, might even just add a little bit more blue in there. Okay. All right, so we'll just work on blending this in. Okay. All right, so I might have to retrace my car a little bit. Okay, so we've got just some more interest there. Okay, let's see the next step here. Okay, so we are going to put some water beneath the moon here. Okay, so we're going to paint some horizontal strokes in white and use small amounts of brush of blue. Okay, so we're going to rinse out, same thing here. Okay, so we're going to rinse and we're going to work down in here. So we're going to paint some white up in here in some horizontal strips, strokes here. Okay. Just kind of get that primed up. Okay. Alright, and we're going to just add the same brush, not rinsing it out, but we're going to go to our flat blue here and just start adding some horizontal water stripes. And we want to paint this section over here all the way in, and then have some of the white still be visible over in this section here. Okay. There we go. Okay, so you can see how it's just kind of blending in, and you can add some more blue in there if you want it to blend up. Okay. Alright. Okay, so now what we're going to use the same brush with this darker blue that we have. And we're going to mix some additional black into that to get some darker areas of the water. So I'm not going to rinse out my brush, but I'm going to take this darker blue color that we have. And I'm just going to add a little bit more black to it. Okay? To darken it up. A little bit more blue. Okay. Alright, so we're going to have that color, kind of a midnight blue, and we're going to use that to mix in the dark areas of the water. Okay, so we want to have that happen kind of on each side. So we're going to mix in some darker areas over here with those horizontal strokes, and then mix it in over here like that. Okay, so we're just gonna add those in. You can mix some of it over do that. Okay, so just keep doing that. Okay, so I'm going to add just a little bit more blue to this section here and help blend that in. I just want this to be a little bit more blended. Okay. There we go. Okay. All right. Okay, so we're gonna then we're gonna rinse this brush really well and get all that blue out. Okay. Actually, I'm not loving this water, so I'm just gonna keep I feel like it's too streaky for me. So I'm gonna make my brush, there, that looks a little bit better. And then I'm gonna so I'm just applying a little bit more pressure on this to get a little bit better coverage here. Like that. Before I was thinking I was doing it too lightly. Okay, so now I'm feeling better about that water. But what I want to do is just, this is where I want to be very light and add some white streaks here for that moon reflection. Okay. There we go. Okay, now I'm feeling better about that water. See, it's not always exactly right. Okay, so we are going to let this rest a little bit down here for now. We're going to head up to tackle this heart. So we're going to use our 1/2 inch flat brush for this, and we're going to start with red. So let's go ahead and get that, and we're going to do a technique called stippling, and stippling is just kind of quick light pressure with paint, and it'll add this piece. So we're going to do that with some different layers of color. So we're going to start with the red. Okay, and we're just going to go in here and go right up to those edges. And just kind of overlap there. Okay. Just keep filling that in. And you can direct the paint by just rotating the brush. All right. Okay, so we've got that part. Now we are going to, using the same brush, put some black in the center here. Okay, so it's going to be really heavy in the center, in that heart shape. Right? And then kind of darker here in the center, and then they can kind of fade out as you do it. So don't rinse your brush, but you can get like bulk paint out of it. So just kind of pepper in using red. That. Okay. Alright, so we want it to be red all the way around the edge. We don't want that to go all the way to it, but we want it to kind of fade out as we do that. Okay? Alright, so we're going to go back to our smallest brush here, and I'm actually going to redraw this tree trunk here. Okay. And so I want this car, here's what I'm going to do, is I am actually going to, so I did not make, I painted too much over my car. So I want to show you, if that happens to you, I want to show you a pretty cool way to kind of change that up, okay? So I'm just going to cut that template that I have, and cut that car right out of it. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing with some graphite paper. I'm just going to trace it again, so that I'm confident that I am doing what I want, because this is a key part of this painting. Sorry, that's noisy. It's a key part of this painting. So I don't want to lay the whole thing on there because it's still drying, but I'm just going to set this on here. I'm just going to trace it again. That's all I'm going to do. Okay. So just go right back over it. And people. Okay. see it back in there. Okay? Alright, so this is the process, and it's sometimes you get it right the first time, and sometimes you have to call an audible and kind of figure things out. So we just called an audible. Okay, so I am going to just take my small detail brushes, and I'm going to fill this tree trunk and the couple, so the car, the couple, and the tree trunk silhouettes. We're just going to fill those in with black. So I'm going to turn this back on for my own benefit, but then I'll turn it off so that you can see what and where I've painted. So if you kind of roll your brush, and then you guys have quite a few different options in your kit here that we can use. So just use whatever is comfortable for you, because you want to feel comfortable with it. So I'm just getting a couple different options out of here and going to see what makes sense. The other piece is I'm going to turn this so that my hand doesn't get into the wet paint here or up in that heart. So I'm just going to kind of work on this slowly here and carefully. And you still have the blue, so if you go out of the lines, you can always just paint it back in. And so when I paint details like this, I'm gonna choke up like I'm writing. So this is all that fine motor. So we want to have as much dexterity as we can here. And we're going to go down. Alright, so we're just going to keep going here and getting this marked in. And you're going to paint around those windows. Alright, so far so good for me. Just be careful and slow. Like I said, I'm an outliner, and then you can fill it in a little bit more freely. And it takes some of the stress off of that. Also, don't get too much paint on your brush. Get enough that it's gonna flow a little bit, but you don't want to dip your entire brush in this paint, because you lose the shape of the brush. It just becomes one big blob of paint. You can always add more paint in a situation like this. It's more difficult to take it away. Okay, so I think I have my car in pretty good shape. Now I'm going to tackle these little people here. So I think I'm going to turn it kind of upside down, because I know this part of the canvas is dry. I'm just nervous about messing something up, because I want to lay my hand down here. Okay. Alright, sorry it's hard to talk and do this at the same time. But I think I'm just about there. Okay. Yeah, so let's get this light off for you guys and you can see where I am. Yep. Okay, so now I'm going to turn it back on and tackle this tree trunk here. Just for my own benefit, and then we'll keep it off. Okay. All right. Okay, now we can say, whew, we got that out of the way. I think that's the toughest part here. So, okay, so now we're going to move down into this section here and work on the cliff. So we are going to use the 1/2 inch flat brush, and we are going to use the brown paint and start painting in this bottom section of this cliff. So, get the water off my brush. I can put this away. Okay. So we're just gonna kind of bring this down with short, choppy strokes. Get right up in there. Okay. Just keep going down here. And we're going to cover up this section here. And just kind of keep going. Okay. Alright. Okay. And then we're going to use the same brush to start blending in that black. Okay. And we're just going to want these same choppy strokes. Okay, so that's going to kind of blend in, and we want to have some shading. And it's going to get darker the further we go away from the moonlight. And just kind of keep building this and layering it. And then we can go back through with some brown to keep it blending here. So it's a similar technique as the heart up here, just a little bit different in the sense that your strokes are longer as opposed to just dotting. Okay. And then if you want, you can add some more brown in. Over the top of all that black. And you can see how it starts to really look cool. Okay. Alright. I think we're just about there for the underside of the cliff. Alright. And we're going to then use, gonna go to the grass, which is gonna come down here and go underneath this. So we're gonna rinse this, we're gonna use the same brush, and we're gonna rinse it out really well. And I'm gonna let it kind of soak a little bit here. But we are going to mix 4 parts of the green and 2 parts of the black with a very small bit of white. Okay? So then we're going to, actually, you can use this brush. I like to use my knife here to mix my colors just because that's what I prefer. So I'm going to set this over to the side. And so as we said, we're going to take 4 parts. So that, we're going to take kind of half that amount basically and mix in the black. Get that mixed up. Okay. It's going to be a really dark green. I'm going to get that blended up nicely, and then we'll drop in just a teeny bit of white here. Okay. So we're going to start with that and see what we like. It's probably going to be more than that. It still looks pretty gray. Let me see here. I'm gonna actually throw in some extra green here. Kind of want a darkish army green here. Yeah, I think that helped. Okay. All right. So now we have that army green, and we're going to start painting this this grass. So to do the grass, we're going to use our round brush, and we are going to actually, I'm sorry, we are actually going to paint. I'm getting ahead of myself. We're going to paint this section here. This is going to be our base coat of grass. So you can see that army green color is going to go right up in here. And then of course we're going to mix lots of different colors to add depth and interest to this grass. Not going to be this easy. Okay. Let's get that painted. Okay. Alright. Just gonna keep just add another coat here. It's a little thin for me. Okay. Alright, so we've got our dark grass. We're gonna then mix a little bit more paint. We're gonna mix some brown with, so 2 parts brown, 1 part white, and we're gonna paint some highlights on the cliff. And then using our round brush. So we're gonna so we're into some of the highlighting here, which is the cool part. Okay, so gonna do a little bit of white and twice that amount of brown. And a little bit of this goes a long way, so we don't need a whole lot of this brown. But we're gonna get this round brush here, and we're gonna just paint some highlights on here using that stippling technique here on the edge. And you can see how that lighter color, when I first started doing this, I was always so afraid to put like a light color with dark colors, and I feel like my painting got better once I got over that fear. So let's turn that off so you can see it a little bit more. So that adding that little bit of light brown to the edge there really makes it pop and show off the moonlight in underneath that cliff. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing with the grass, and we're going to mix green, equal parts green, black, and white. And we're going to start mixing some of that grass in so this base coat is good. So good and dry. So I'm going to take 1 part, 1 part, and 1 part, and just, so we're going for kind of a lighter version of the army green. Okay. All right. So I'm going to come back through with this dark green, and I'm going to start with the dark green, and I'm going to just kind of take it and do quick flicks. Okay, especially up here to where we want it to not be a straight line, and you can see it. Just adding some fuzz, making it look more like grass as opposed to a flat color, giving it some texture. Okay. So these are just quick flicks of the wrist with that color to make it look okay. Okay, just make sure you hit those, and then you can come down here and do this lower section. Roughing it up, those edges by the sea, a lake, who knows what this is. It's a body of water. Okay. So then we're going to do this again with that lighter color, and it'll really make it cool looking. Right. Just keep moving as you go through. And like I said, we're going to do that with the lighter colors as well. So, got a big glob up here I want to clean up. Okay. So, yeah, now we're going to use the lighter color to do the same thing. And I want it to be lighter like up here by the moonlight. So already you can see how cool that looks. Oops. As you start blending this grass in over the top of that darker green. And this is another case where being afraid to, I would never have put something like visually this light and contrasting on a darker color like this, and just makes a huge difference. But I didn't know how to paint them, so every painting I do I get a little better. So hopefully you guys keep doing this, and to me it is so relaxing and enjoyable, and you know, if I can make a little money and share my joy with everybody while it's happening, more power to me. So just kind of blending these in. So I hope you enjoy these as much as I do, and continue to paint along with me. I do lots of different kinds of events. I do kids' birthdays, adults, kits, virtual, in-person, all kinds of events. So there's all different ways to do this, and do different kinds of kits as well. I'm just gonna keep making the grass there. Okay. Just keep going. Tedious. But you just keep doing this, and your mind wanders and get lost in your own little thoughts when I'm not teaching. Alright, almost there. Alright, as I do this last section here, I may go over some of the further away from the moon sections, and go back over some of this light with the dark just to give it a little bit more shading here. So just kind of over here, putting some more of that dark color back in because it's further away. Right, just a little bit. Okay, so I think I'm about there on that one. I might touch it up a little bit, but I think we're good. Okay, so the next part is to make, we're really in the home stretch, so we're gonna make the falling leaves off of our heart here. So we're gonna make a little bit of pink colors. So again, I'm going to pull this over and I'm going to get equal parts red and white. Okay, I'm not sure what that part is, but alright, so I'm going to mix this equal parts. Right, so we've got that color. And then we're going to make a color that is all red and half the amount of white, or yeah, half the amount of white, sorry. So we'll make this one over here, so a little bit darker. And if there's not enough contrast, I'm just going to add some more white to this side. Okay. Alright, so we have a lighter pink and a darker pink. And we're going to finish this up here. Okay. So we are going to just add the highlights into this tree, and then have some leaves falling off the side. Okay, so we're just going to grab that same small round brush we were using to do the grass, but instead of doing those quick flicks, we're going to do more of the stippling that we did here. So get that drip off of here. So we're just gonna add some highlighting around this heart. So this is the just gonna kind of go around and blend in those raw edges where you painted the red right up to the thing, and then you can come in with that lighter color and come in there, and then you could even just drop some white bits in here, just some straight white on here if it's not. Okay, and just kind of blend it in there. And I think I'm going to go back over this with some red and some black as I get there, but we're just going to kind of have some of these leaves come off this tree. Okay, both. Right, and then have that darker. Okay, so you can have that going, and then I'm gonna blend in, just because I like it to be a little bit more blended with, I'm gonna get some straight up red, some darker colors, and kind of touch base here in that center. Get that red. Right. There we go. And then I can mix in black. Okay. All right. So I think we are good. I just want to kind of tweak these other ones. Okay. And then just kind of doing that. All right. So we are in pretty good shape there. Okay. So the last step that we have is to use that toothbrush. Now I still feel like I want this heart to be a little bit darker. So I'm gonna come back and darken it up a little bit better. Because it's really I might just all right. So now I like that better. Okay, so now we're going to use this toothbrush and we're going to just get it a little bit damp, and I am going to grab, just get some paint, just white paint on the tip of this brush. Okay, and then I'm just going to run my thumb get it to splatter here over. Okay. Just kind of giving it the finishing touch there. So it's really hard to see on, there we go, without the glare. Okay. All right, so we are all set with the Lovely Lookout painting. Again, I have thoroughly enjoyed painting with you guys, and I hope that you have enjoyed painting with me as well. I have lots of different kits that are available on my website, on my YouTube channel. As I said before, I do in-person events and the like. So I would love to interact with you and be creative in another capacity moving forward. But if not, I've really enjoyed painting with you today. So you can share your artwork with me. I love to see people's artwork at hashtag #CreativeAtHomeArt. And you can interact with me on Facebook and Instagram at that same hashtag. And at my website, as always, creativeathomeart.com. Again, my name is Abby, and I look forward to painting with you again. Thank you.